Well, hello. How is everybody tonight? Are you at happy Saturday? Hello, the Wolfpack Presents. Hello, Renee. Hello, or Renee. I can't help it. I keep saying Renee. Renee. Hello, Thestra. How are you? It is now 6 o'clock p.m. Tonight I have for you mermaid stories. The first one is part 1 of my new series coming up. And then I have several creepypasta mermaid stories after that one. I haven't decided whether or not I want to make these single stories on the channel or whole stories. I don't know. YouTube's always such a crapshoot for me. So I don't even know. I just like to come here on Saturdays and have a live stream. I also have a couple of calls I'm going to play. Someone who called in and actually saw a mermaid. Hello, Loco Madman. And so next week, I expect everybody to call in and tell me their stories. You can always send in your stories to the P.O. box listed on the channel in the About section, or the address. It's P.O. Box 5335, not 3553 like I had put at one time. It's P.O. Box 5335, Pleasanton, California 94566. Just address it to Spooky Boo. And you can send in your story that way, or you can send it via email. It's probably easier to send it via email. Or if you just had a comment for a show, you could send them in that way as well. Or you could call it in, and I'll play that too. Hello, Rick, the North-going llama. Hello, Rod O'Connor. Hello, Fuzzy. Let's see. What is everybody talking about tonight? Wolfpack Presents was the first person in the chat. That is correct. Although somebody did vote. Oh, 2 people voted in the poll. I think it's over by now, though. And I said hello to Renee and Thestra and Loco Madman. Glad to see you here. Haven't seen you in a while. I don't know what a rainbow shake is, but that sounds fun. Wolfpack Presents. I had all keto today. And I'm going to have a Wendy's Baconator with no bun and no side with the Diet Coke later. Rod says, hey, Spooky Boo, cool creature features movie last night. Not sure how you like saying hi to everyone, so I keep quiet. Just know I got love for you, girl. Well, thank you, Rod O'Connor. I do love saying hi to everybody. I do that for a little while at the beginning of the show, and then the stories start, I don't know, at about 10 minutes in to make sure everybody gets here. And they go on, and then we chat for a while, and then at the end we chat more. Yeah. Thustra, I had a big margarita with lunch. Been sleepy downhill since then. Yummy! I love margaritas. TM, I am tied to the sail mast and have my earplugs in. I am ready for my ride on the Odyssey. Yeah, some of tonight's stories are really strange. They're really way out there, but I read them anyway. They're fun, so I expect that you're probably going to enjoy them as well, as everything goes. And it's finally hot out here. Oh my gosh, it's been, well, I enjoyed it. I rather enjoyed the weather lately. It's been foggy and cold and beach-like. At least beaches up here in Northern California. So today was the first kind of hot day. We had it at 87, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Alexa, what was the temperature today?
Right now, it's 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of 53 degrees.
One of the stories had her name in it today, and I was having a dumb moment, and I kept stopping it and yelling at it. And then I just realized that I could hit the mute button on it or whatever, the no mic button. It was kind of amusing. Loco says, crushed a bottle of wine or five last night. Just a bottle or 5. It's feeling a bit like beef jerky. Ugh. Get that water in there, Loco. Tam, hi Spooky Boo and chat family. Fam, cheers and blessings. That's one thing I've not experienced any mer people. Just heard tales of. Yeah, Rod has seen mermaids at the Renaissance Fest, and had, a naughty dream with them. That sounds a little fishy. Rick, doing a little drinking myself tonight. Bought some Captain Morgan cherry vanilla rum and Coca-Cola and blood orange cranberry juice. Making sangria jubilee drinks. Are you mixing the rum and the Coke and the blood orange cranberry juice all together at once? A triple Santa Barbara char from the Habit for dinner, says the Wolfpack Presents. Oh, that's always good without the bun. That's too bad, because I think that has a sourdough bun, which really sucks, because, I can't eat sourdough. Such a bummer. Oh, it's been summery for Fuzzums lately. That's good. Hello, JW. How are you doing? Thestra gonna make a White Russian after story time before creature features. Renee, that's Northern California and Southern California, but is there a Middle California? Actually, there kind of is. There's Central California, which is kind of not really Central California, but they call it Central California. It's where Fresno and I think Bakersfield is part of that, and parts of the San Joaquin Valley maybe. But you never hear about Central California. Nobody admits to living there. I'm just kidding. I could say the same about Northern California too sometimes. Oh, Loco, fishy, hey. I see what you did there, Boo. Oh, man. I'm just going to have a Diet Coke tonight. I'm not going to have any kind of alcohol. Going to, going to take a trip to Santa Rosa in June to see the Bob Wilkins thing. And, not Bob Wilkins, John Stanley event, maybe. And, I don't know, I might drink that day. Who knows? Depends where I'm staying that night. Hey, Alicia Simmons, how you doing? I am not paying for a hotel room when I go up there that Saturday. So if I go up there that Saturday, it's going to be really expensive to do so. So I don't know if I am or not. But I already have the car rented. And I don't know. But I can tell you I probably won't be drinking because I haven't planned out a hotel room or anything. So that means I won't be able to drive home if I don't have that. I just don't like driving at night. That's the whole thing. But fortunately it's summer and I don't have to worry about the nighttime because for some reason these days I get tunnel vision really badly when I drive. So I can't see the road markers in the middle of the road when I drive in some areas. One time I realized, I'm like, hey, I'm in the middle of the street. I don't know, how did other people know? I couldn't see the road markers on either side. It was like, what the hell? So I kind of stopped driving at night most of the time. Who knows? Why does the name Bakersfield sound ominous to me? Bakersfield is just kind of a middle of the state, dry, arid, desert-like area. Yeah. Does anyone have a mermaid's tear? No, I do not. Thustra. Is Bakersfield full of Okies? I'm gonna have to tell my friends from Bakersfield that. They'll get a kick out of that. Do they have park benches you could sleep on? JW asks. In Santa Rosa, that is the last place I would want to sleep on a park bench. No. Not gonna do that. Alicia, scarier than ever. Ooh. Good. Night blindness, says TM. Yes, and in the rain. Oh my gosh. When it's like pouring down rain, I pull over. I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know when it started. It wasn't like that for a long time. And driving downhill, oh my God. Driving down the Sierras, I pray the whole way down. Driving uphill doesn't bother me. Driving downhill is just like, I'm going to tilt the car. I'm going to go over the edge. And I'm looking over the edge. And for some reason, the car always wants to veer to the right. It wants to veer to the right, no matter what. I always feel like something's pushing me to the right. And I'm just like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So one time I was driving my friend home. She lived in Tracy. I was driving her to Livermore. And I was in her car. First of all, it's a Prius. So it was the most nightmarish car to drive in the world because it's a winder. Okay. It's awful. So we're chugging up the mountain. And then we get up to it, and I'm like, God, I can't see anything because she smokes. And the whole windshield is just, and it's at dusk, or not at dusk, it's before dusk. So the sun is right there. You're going downhill. There's a million cars around you going the speed limit. They can see. I can't see anything because her windshield is covered in smoke, haze, and the sun's right there, and I hate driving downhill, driving down the Altamont Pass. Oh my gosh, it's just like, good God. So I'm driving, and I'm just like, I'm going to die. And I finally just pull over. I'm like, I can't do this. You got to quit smoking, man, because I don't know how you see out of your window. She just gets in, she just zips down the hill. I'm like, how do you see out that window? Where are you going? I don't know. That would be quit smoking time for me. I wouldn't be able to do that. But that's just me. JW says the new headlights are way too bright. Yeah, they are bright. But I have a problem even when when people aren't coming toward me. The road goes into like a tunnel vision. The two lines on the sides come together in part of it. So it's pretty awful. What does the background look like? Thank you, Tam. It's a mermaid. It says Mermaid Horror Stories, and it's a mermaid with a green tail and green scales and red hair and pretty green eyes. That's what it looks like for now. It's going to look like it's a dark blue room that's under the sea, and it's got fish out the window and a fireplace roaring, and it's really pretty. It's a Victorian blue, Victorian furniture. Just imagine Captain Nemo, I guess. But you are smoking, Boo. I'm smoking. I don't smoke. I used to smoke. I smoked cigarettes when I was younger. But when I found out I was pregnant with my first kid, I stopped completely. Never did it again after that. Never stopped drinking. No, that's not true. I did stop drinking because I had to be the responsible parent, but I drink now. Not often. It looks like an Irish mermaid or Scottish. All right, so I'm going to start the stories now, and I will talk to you soon. Let me know in the comments how you like the background. And in the comments after the chat, let me know how you, or if you've ever seen a mermaid and which story was your favorite. I'd love to know that in the actual comments, not in the chat room. I mean, you could say it in the chat room, but please leave comments because YouTube loves interactions and loves it when you're You're telling me good stuff. Okay, Fuzzy, I'll see you then. Thruster meant smoking hot. That's what he meant, but now now I'm extra creepy. Okay, I'm gonna start reading. A Mermaid's Tale by Boo Rhodes, Part 1. He looked at her eyes and imagined himself swimming in those deep pools of green. Where this strange woman came from, he had no clue, but she was with him, and that was all that mattered. His marriage be damned. He only wanted this woman and her magic in his heart. She took his hand, and placing it palm down on her chest, she allowed her heartbeat to match his. He smiled and kissed her, their lips just touching slightly. He felt as one with this strange redhead. Her spell on him was only deepened by his love for her, and it was only a few hours before when they met. How it happened so fast, he did not know. They were both walking on the beach in the moonlight in opposite directions. The fog had only just started to roll in, but already covered the shore at eye level, and mysteriously thicker than normal. He had bumped into her as she appeared right before him, hiding in the shadows cast by the light of the moon and the fog. He felt so bad after knocking her down that he asked her to have a drink, and she agreed. Hours later, they were together at the Sandcastle Hotel. It had been 2 days since he had been home with his wife. Newlyweds they were, and oddly enough, 2 days before, he felt he loved his wife more than anyone ever. But after hearing the soft voice of this unlikely stranger, and seeing the ocean in her glowing green eyes, he suddenly had a distaste for his new bride. A feeling that would normally cause him pain, but tonight it was surreal. He wanted to hurt her for just being in his life, and almost taking away the chance of meeting this incredible woman. His fingers threaded through the woman's thick red hair, and then he pulled it up around her face in a fist, letting it fall lightly upon her shoulders. It was surreal, and his heart beat hard for this new love. "Sing to me," he said as he smiled and ran his finger down her cheek. She hummed an unfamiliar tune to him, and yet somehow he knew the notes and how it would end. Their minds locked as one, and he wondered just how he would tell his wife that he was going to leave her for this new woman he didn't even know. And she smiled. Images of his wife lying on her back in their bed with her head lolling to the side, hanging off the edge, displayed before his eyes. Her eyes opaque and open along with her mouth, blood dripping from her lips and her chest splayed open with her organs fresh on display. The humming grew louder and more intense as he nodded and smiled. He knew what he had to do, and do it soon so this mysterious woman could be his lover forever in eternity. He kissed her full lips and caressed her hair one more time before putting on his clothes and headed out to his car. The hotel clerk just smiled and nodded. He figured the man already knew the secret he held from the world and hoped he would tell no one. His secret must not get out. As he pulled into the driveway of their large home, he saw his wife watching out the window for him. Her father had paid for everything, another annoyance in his life. She reminded him of it often, and so did her dad. Almost every chance her father got, he wondered why Wren got into computers instead of medicine. Reluctantly, he opened the car door and stepped out of the car. The front door flung open, and in seconds Agatha was upon him, hugging him and kissing his face. "Where have you been? I've missed you so much, and I was so worried. I called the cops and everything. Why are your clothes wet?" "What? My clothes?" Why hadn't he noticed that he was soaked? And you smell like you've been in the ocean. Fishy. Did you get in an accident near the beach, baby?" Should we go to the doctor? Come inside and get warm. He went inside with his wife, and she started a warm bath as he tossed his clothes in the hamper. When the water was ready, she kissed him on the lips and quickly backed away, giving him a strange look. Baby, brush your teeth. You taste like the ocean, too. For a moment, he couldn't remember what he was doing there. He forgot about the redhead who held his heart for the past few days and only remembered the love for his wife. He nodded and stepped into the tub as she went into the other room. He heard her bustling around in the closet and in the kitchen as he lowered his body into the warm water. Leaning back and relaxing, he tried hard remembering where he had been for the past few days, and the memories were just not there. "Something is wrong with me, honey. I must have blacked out. I can't remember where I've been," he yelled to his wife in the other room. She stepped into the bathroom, placing his warm towels on the tank, and sat on the toilet seat, lid closed. "It will come to you, baby. The car isn't wrecked, so maybe you just hit your head on something, or you're coming down with the flu." "I guess," he shrugged. Agatha handed him the warm tea she made, and as he took a sip, his stomach churned. The need to retch was intense, but he didn't want to worry her, so he just leaned back, allowing the bile to dip back into his stomach. "Baby, you're green, and you look like you just ate something terrible. Let me call Daddy for you." Wren agreed and leaned back into the relaxing water, until the sudden urge to make love to his wife hit him so hard that he got out of the tub without even drying off. When he wrapped his arms around her, she was turning the comforter and bedsheets down to sleep. She turned around to kiss him, but tried to pull away. He kissed her hard. She slapped his face and pushed him away. "What the hell, babe?" he cried out, his cheeks stinging. "Brush your teeth and use some soap. I don't know where you've been, but you're not feeling good, and I don't want to get whatever it is that you have. You're going to the doctor in the morning, and that's it." Wren's fist came down on the nightstand as he stared at Agatha. Her dead body splayed on the bed, haunting his thoughts again. As he noticed the fear in her eyes, he softened a bit and agreed. She gave him a pair of his flannel pajamas and grabbed some sheets, a pillow, and a blanket from the closet. "Should you take the couch or should I?" she said, offering the ensemble to him. "I'll take the couch," he said, and went out into the living room alone. The next morning was foggy when the couple headed out to the doctor's office. Wren looked over at his wife, who then took the liberty of driving to the doctor's office herself. "You look like shit, baby," she said, barely even taking her eyes off the road. He pulled down the visor and looked in the mirror. His skin was almost gray with a green hue. In some places it actually looked iridescent. His eyes were sunken in and hollow but alive. Even his hair seemed more sparse than normal. Grimacing, he quickly pushed the visor back up into place. "I don't know what you ate or contracted, but hopefully the doc will," Agatha said, pulling into the driveway of the medical building. As they waited in the infectious diseases area where no one else was allowed until the last patient had left the room, Wren twitched in his seat. He was incredibly thirsty. He felt as if he didn't get any water, even a mist, that his lungs would explode. He looked around the room for a water cooler and instead found the fish tank. His stomach cramped in hunger as he stared at the large black angelfish that stared back at him. "What are you doing?" Agatha asked as she watched him walk over to the fish tank and stick his hand inside of it. He thought about grabbing the angelfish and eating it, but thought better of it. That might look strange, and the doctor would lock him up, probably force him to divorce his daughter. Instead, he cupped the water from the tank in his palm and drank from it while looking back at his wife. "Gross," she whispered. "Knock it off." Satisfied with his sip of tank water, he sat back down in the chair beside her. His mind clouded with the thoughts of how much he loved his wife and yet hated her. He couldn't make up his mind. Her dead body displayed on the bed and flashed in his mind, and he shook it off. When he saw the image, his stomach ached with hunger, and that bothered him the most. Something was seriously wrong with him, yet he had no idea what was going on in his head. Wren Blankenship, the nurse called out his name with a big smile. Agatha stood up to go with him, but the nurse shook her head. Just Wren for now. We'll call you if needed. Wren followed the nurse into the small room void of any personality. He looked at the bare walls and the equipment hanging down from the ceiling. Normally, his doctor had treasures given to him by his patients and friends adorning his walls and shelves, along with certificates, but this room was different. Change into these. The doctor will be with you shortly, the nurse said, giving him a wink while grabbing some of the empty supply boxes and replacing them with new ones. He watched her, thinking she looked a lot like his wife when they first met years ago. When she caught him staring at her, she smiled. I don't think the doctor would appreciate his son-in-law staring at his nurse like that. Wren. He laughed and turned away as she walked out the door, remembering the last time he had his hands upon her. He looked down at his ashen skin as he changed into the gown. Unless it was a trick of the light, he thought he must have lost weight, even muscle. But that was impossible. He hadn't been missing for more than a weekend. Embarrassed by his strange appearance, he tied the back of the gown in all 3 places instead of hastily knotting the top one like normal. He kept thinking about the image of his wife bloodied on the bed, and it wasn't until the 3rd knock from the doctor that he awoke from his daytime nightmare. At the last knock, the doctor took the liberty to open the door and walk inside the small room. "Oh, you are awake," he said, putting the stethoscope in his ears. "How are you?" he asked, pressing the cold metal to Wren's chest. "I felt better," Wren said, then took a deep breath. "Agatha tells me you had some sort of a blackout for a few days and went missing?" "Yeah, I suppose so. I don't really remember." Had you been drinking?" The doctor began checking Wren's ears and nose with various tools. "No, Doc, I don't drink. I don't like the morning after." "Oh, well, you look like shit, Wren. You're close enough to family for me to say that. Aggie is worried about you, and that always concerns me. How are you 2 doing?" "We're okay," he choked out and closed his eyes, trying to black out the image of her dead body laying on the bed. "I'll be honest with you, Wren. I think you should stay overnight at the hospital. Your heartbeat is irregular and your skin looks strange. I've never seen skin change like this. It's almost like it's chafing off. Plus your breath smells like rotten fish. That bothers me the most. Aggie says you drink tank water." "Yeah, I don't know." Wren shrugged his shoulders harder than needed. "I'm admitting you to the hospital for a couple of days. We'll take some blood tests and make sure you're not coming down with some new virus out there. You know how that goes these days. Maybe you'll be the first one to shut down the country." Ha, ha, ha. He knew his father-in-law enjoyed the snide jokes about him. It was just like him to make Wren feel like an ass. "I'll let Agatha know what's going on. Just wait here and we'll get you set up into a room. Don't go anywhere. Put on these blue paper pants so you can walk through the office and leave your clothes here. The nurse will have them laundered for you." The doctor left the room and shut the door behind him. Agatha, a bit insulted, sat back down in the chair. She was so confused about what was going on with her husband. He had never acted like this before in all of their dating years. They were always together, stuck like glue, and never let the other one out of the sight. It was unlike him to disappear. "Agatha," the doctor touched her shoulder. "Yes, Daddy." She looked up at her father. She knew he would see her or Wren in a moment's notice. "Is he going to be okay?" "Honestly, dear, I don't know. Were you 2 together when he arrived home?" She grew worried at the concerned look on her father's face. "No, we kissed, but nothing more. I couldn't stand the taste of his mouth. He tasted like seawater and smelled like fish. He's going to be in observation for the next few days in isolation. Don't go in there at all. Do you hear me? And if you feel strange at the time, call me immediately. Let Tamara take your vitals on the way out, would you? Just to make sure. And stay home this week, just in case." All right, Daddy. She rolled her eyes and gave her father a hug, then headed out to the nurse's station before going home. Wren did all he could to stay calm in the hospital bed, but the visions of his wife dying in their bed haunted his sleep. They gave him a sedative, but it just wasn't working. He was also continuously hungry, and his brain was fatigued, but his body had constant energy. He didn't want to sleep. He just didn't want to see her pale face in his dreams any longer. Disobeying direct orders, he hopped out of bed and sat at the window, looking over the ocean. It was such a beautiful view with the sun glistening in the water. The fog had receded for the afternoon and would return in the evening. Maybe then he could sneak out after dark and look for that strange woman with the red hair. He let the sun warm his face for a few hours, and then, as the sun descended and disappeared behind the bed of fog, he heard her, that singing, that beautiful voice that called to him. He thought maybe she was a siren of the sea, but she looked all human and had no feathers. The stories his father carried down from the fishermen and his family told him the sirens or the beautiful voices were part bird and would call to ships, daring them to crash into the rocks. No, this woman was nothing like a siren. She looked as human as they came. His mind clouded with her beauty, and as he stared down at the beach, in the sunset glow, he saw her. Her red hair was glowing like embers in the sunset, and her beautiful alabaster skin soaking up the rays. She was sitting on a large rock. The lower half of her body was covered in the water, but as the tide pulled back, his mouth dropped open, slapping the water. Where her legs should have been, curled under her, was a large green fish tail. As the tail splashed, the scales turned iridescent, similar to that of his skin. He looked down at the sides of his hips and thighs, where he had seen the strange color before, and they were even more colorful than before. He had to get to the bottom of this. Wren found his freshly washed jeans and t-shirt in the top drawer and put them on. He didn't bother with his shoes. Quickly he ran out the door and down the stairs to the parking garage, where he could easily leave without being seen. A few minutes later he was walking on the beach toward the rock his lover sat upon earlier. She was gone, but the fog was quickly moving in, and the sun was no longer visible. Darkness settled on the shore, and absent the moonlight it was hard to see anything except for the flashing light of the lighthouse. He shivered in the cold, misty air and walked back toward the cliff nearing Highway 1. As he did, a woman sang behind him. He felt her cold hand upon his back. He turned, knowing exactly who it was. Once again he was under her spell, listening to her voice and feeling her long red hair wrap around him. She kissed him with cold, wet lips. A soft scream chortled through blood as her razor-sharp teeth bit through the very tip of his tongue. Through watery eyes he watched her swallow it as he pulled off his shirt and pressed it to his mouth to stop the bleeding. Watching her swallow made his stomach ache with need. She turned and ran back into the waves. As she dove back into the surf, her legs became a tail again and flapped in the water. He waved back, confused and in pain, but so hungry for more. As Agatha slept on the couch, he crept... Then he headed back home. As Agatha slept on the couch, he crept into the house and changed his clothes. His tongue had stopped bleeding, but it hurt bad enough to grab the bottle of Percocet from his recent surgery from the cabinet. He gulped down 2 with a shot of whiskey, then changed his clothes. Although he could no longer feel the pain, the alcohol and pills had no effect on his vitality. He took one look at his sleeping wife, and to his horror, her face grew pale and her eyes opened. She looked directly at him. "Kill me," she pleaded. Wren closed his eyes and shook his head no. While fighting a demon within, he ran out the door and to the hospital, where the nurse was bound to be off work soon. He waited in the nurse's parking lot, to see which car was hers and then followed her to her home. As she got out of her car and began opening her front door, he pushed her inside, along with the door, and then locked it behind him. She screamed and struggled to get away, kicking Wren in the gut. He doubled over, coughing out seawater and blood. As she tried to push herself up with her hands, her toe slipped in his watery vomit, and she fell face first into the wooden coffee table, knocking her out. When she came to, the nurse found herself laid out on her back on her own bed, her red hair flowing around her. She couldn't move her arms or legs, but she could see that she was stripped down to her underwear. Coming out of the bathroom was Wren. His shirt was off and his skin was shiny like the scales of a fish. He smiled at her, sharp teeth lining his top and bottom gums. He tried to speak, but his tongue was so swollen, all he could manage was wife and surrogate. He kissed her cheek as she screamed, running the blade down her chest and abdomen. As she quickly bled to death, the screaming stopped, and her body went limp. Wren looked at her, smiling. He knew the mermaid would be pleased, or so he hoped. Mermaids Are Starving by AldoDN. I walk at dawn by the avenue with a soft zigzag. It takes me a lot of effort, so the alcohol doesn't make me stumble or lose my way back home. I can hear the motor of a faraway car, the buzz of electricity cables, the gurgling of a nearly dry fountain, and a song, a soft, melodious murmur. I stop to observe the old fountain, one of so many embellishments the city doesn't care to maintain, with broken stone pieces, mold in every crack, and all kinds of garbage floating in the water that was far from a clear and slippery bottom. Sitting on the edge is a petite girl humming. I hadn't noticed her presence until now. I approach with slow steps to see her better. She looks so alone. Hair falls over her face in a tangle of dreadlocks, combed awkwardly with a shell hairpin and what looks like fish bones. Something drives me to speak to her, the alcohol in my veins probably, because the girl doesn't have a captivating beauty. Slowly she turns her body in my direction, giving me a better glimpse of the slim body, covered only by a sleeveless dress that barely reaches to cover her breasts. I run my eyes over the long uncovered legs and bare feet. Closer, her skin is greenish and so thin, anorexic perhaps. Not receiving a response to my greeting, I decide to ask her if she is lost, bending down to see her face. The girl shakes her head and says nothing more, continuing to sing. It is so beautiful I can't stop hearing it. Weird something with such beauty to come out of dry, chapped lips. I try to talk to her again. I propose companionship. We could have fun together. Yes, she may be bony and have a battered appearance, but I am not the demanding type when it comes to the pleasures of the flesh. If she'll sing for me, I'll happily have her to my warm bed with her body. Without a word, the girl raises her arms and puts them around my shoulders. One of the hands tangles between my hair, giving me chills. She's so cold, but it doesn't matter. I want to kiss her mouth, her face, her body. The desire becomes so unbearable that her appearance ceases to annoy me. I am going to make her sing for me. I let myself be dragged. I can feel her bones against my chest. I raise her face and see sunken eyes accompanied by a crooked smile. She pulls and I stumble, taking both of us to the interior of the fountain. There's no more pirates on the wide sea, sailors to charm. Water hit wakes me, eyes open, disoriented. Still under the water, the girl turns and pushes me against the bottom without giving me a chance to breathe. Murky water surrounds me. I should be able to swim to the surface. The fountain isn't that deep, so why does the surface seem so far away? I kick, stroke, but I can't get out. No one hears our broken voices, foolish men to drag to the deep. My lungs burn, my eyes sting, bony arms surround my waist, and another pair, and another one. I'm soon surrounded. Between blinks I see them, faces deformed by hunger, sharp teeth, hair tangled with seaweed, dull, scaly skin, with fish tails. All the hideous women have fish tails. All over the damn land they hide. We'll exit the sea and bring them to us. They disappear when I start struggling. Air escapes me with a silent scream. One of them bites my arm, piercing skin, veins, and muscle all together. That's enough so the rest can join, just like piranhas. They destroy my body with every bite. And air. I need air. My lungs fill with water. Kiss our fangs, feel the caresses that tear. One of them approaches my face, and I come across her sunken eyes. The fountain girl. She smiles. More thousands of deformed faces come out from the deep darkness, hungry, keen for my flesh, my bones, my blood. I hear her sing again. Different voices join the chorus. The lyrics pierce my ears, and I lose consciousness. Such beautiful voices. Feel our stomachs. We are starving. In the news today, after 8 hours of his disappearance, the clothing of another missing young man is found. The garments are blood-stained, suggesting a violent attack. The police still can find no explanation for the residue of salt water, apparently seawater near crime scenes, since the nearest coast is at least 15 hours away. More information as the investigation proceeds. Beneath Still Waters by Jdeschene. No one believes me. They think I'm insane. They think But how could I? Why would I ever? It was her, that bitch. I never liked her. So silent and sad. Always looking at him with those eyes. We all know what she wanted. I should have demanded he get rid of her, but no. She drew me in. I felt sorry for her. Sorry. And look what it cost me. My prince. My real-life prince. Can you believe it? I thought I was the luckiest girl in the world. To tell you the truth, even if he weren't a prince, I would have fallen in love with him anyway. I still remember the day we met. He was lying on that beach, still and wounded. I thought he was dead. I lifted his head off the sand and his eyes fluttered open. Those sweet green eyes. I wanted to drown in them forever. We had no idea then where life would take us. Fate brought us back together, and I had resigned myself to the marriage my father arranged for me. Accepted my husband to be, sight unseen. And then I saw him. It was him. That same beautiful man with eyes like the ocean. He was a real prince, and now he was mine. But he wasn't alone. No matter what we did, there was always a third. The silent girl with the golden hair seemed to accompany us everywhere. She made me uneasy, but I smiled and hoped she would one day disappear. When she didn't, I finally spoke to my fiancé about her. "You have to pity her," he said. "Why?" I asked. "Because we found her all alone on the beach one morning," he told me. "No one has any idea who she is or where in this world she belongs. Lord only knows what she's been through and can't tell us." I must admit my heart broke. I couldn't imagine how hard her life must be. So from then on, I tried my best to be more understanding. But I couldn't bring myself to care for her. She bothered me. Something about her silence chilled me. And the way she clearly wanted my prince for herself was nothing short of vulgar. The way she could touch him, smile at only him, dance for him. More than once I worried there might be something between them. More than once I let my prince reassure me. Time and time again, however, I found myself wanting her gone. I should have listened to my instincts. My prince's silent friend was more than usually morose on our wedding day, giving further evidence to what I'd always known. Still, I did my best to ignore her completely. This day was ours, my prince's and mine. Nothing could ruin it, I thought. They had even spruced up his favorite sailing ship, whereupon the ceremony, wedding dinner, and wedding night would take place. It would be perfect from start to finish. How stupid I was, how trusting. That night, the start of it at least, will remain one of my sweetest memories, no matter what happens to me or how much longer I am allowed to live. The way our bodies entwined and mingled for the first time, the ecstasy, the music we made together, and then, when it was done, the way he lay beside me, radiating a warmth that enveloped me like the most comfortable blanket. It was all I had dreamed it would be, and more. I felt so at peace that I slipped right off to sleep. If I dreamed, I can't remember. The next thing in my memory is the nightmare I woke up to. My husband's scream shocked me awake. I sat bolt upright. All drowsiness gone in an instant. Beside me, a horrific scene played out. There she stood, the silent girl. She was there by our bedside, raising a strange object high above her head. By the light of the moon, I could see it was some sort of blade, but unlike any I'd ever encountered. It was more like a crystalline icicle in structure, and I had just enough time to notice this before she plunged it down into my husband's abdomen with ferocious force. He screamed again, clutching his stomach with one hand and trying to fight off his attacker with the other. "Why?" I heard him choke out. "Why?" I suddenly sprang into action. I reached across my husband's body and grabbed his attacker by her face. To my surprise, it felt strange. I expected heat and softness of flesh. Instead, she felt cold and utterly soaked. Before I could think too much about it, I gave a great push, and back she went, landing prone. From then on, my focus was on my husband. I watched with terror as his movements slowed. His blood poured out in streams, soaking the sheets beneath us. He was losing consciousness quickly. I shook him by the shoulders, begging him to stay, but it was of no use. A moment later, he was gone. I remember crying out in anguish and wondering why no one would come. And then my eyes landed back on her. She had pulled herself up with her legs out in front of her. Only they were not legs I saw. Where they should have been was the tail of a fish, and she eagerly smeared it with the blood from her weapon, panting and grunting in wordless desperation. I was dumbfounded, paralyzed by fear and confusion. What was I seeing? Suddenly she began to gasp, as if somehow she could no longer breathe. She began pulling herself across the floor with her hands dragging her tail behind her. She grasped whatever she could to pull herself along. The sight of it made me sick. This inhuman, uncanny creature was somehow more horrifying than the blood that gushed from my new husband's corpse. At last she pulled herself out of the room, and another moment later I heard the far-off splash of something hitting the water. I don't know if I passed out again. The next thing I remember is the room overrun with people, servants, my hysterical mother-in-law's lady maids, and so many others. Many of them asked me why I'd done it, where I'd gotten the strange dagger, what he'd done to deserve this on our wedding night. The silent girl was nowhere to be found in all of this, and yet a smeary trail of blood led out to the deck. They said I must have killed her too and thrown her overboard. The answers I gave then are the ones I'll give now. I did nothing. It was her, I swear. It was that devious, murderous little mermaid. Fortunately Unfortunate by Anne Drew. One time in my childhood, my family and I visited my father's hometown. It was a very tiring trip to the north, lasting for almost half a day. We arrived at my grandmother's place in the afternoon. All were tired and everyone started to rest. I was unable to take a nap because my cousins started to approach me. We played, and I certainly had enough fun to keep up with them. That's when we all got bored, and the eldest of them said, "Why don't we go and visit the river?" His idea surprised us. Nonetheless, we all agreed, and my grandmother said we could take a picnic at the bank of the river first thing in the morning. Next day, all of us got up earlier than expected. My aunts and uncles, together with some of my cousins, sang folk songs together while we rode the 10-minute bumpy ride to the streams. We had to walk the rest of the way because vehicles wouldn't be able to trudge it. I'm paying attention to my steps. It was rocky and moss stuck to my shoes. I kept on wiping my shoes with leaves to keep them clean. I realized I was the only one left behind, so I started to sing songs. I sang nursery rhymes that I knew when I heard a faint cry. "Kid, how are you?" I faced the direction of the voice and found a lady sitting on a boulder. She was very beautiful. To my surprise, she didn't look like everyone else in town. Her hair was flaming bronze in hue, flowing from her head to her hip. She shone greenish in contrast to the folks having caramel complexions. I felt like walking to the boulder. Her unusually golden eyes seemed to hypnotize me. "Alexa, where are you, child?" I snapped out of myself. I faced the direction of the voice whose my aunt owned. I tried to find the woman atop the boulder, only to find no lady sitting on it. I was puzzled, but then my stomach started to grumble. I ran to my aunt's arms, and she carried me to the cottages. We ate seafood and a healthy roasted pig. Fried rice was steaming hot with mixed-in vegetables. We used banana leaves as our plates, and we used our hands to serve ourselves. It was a merry feast. After eating, we covered the leftovers, cleaned up the plate, and changed clothes for swimming. My cousins were inviting me to jump in the waters. I did not hesitate, and my parents allowed me after I put on sunblock lotion. I was ready to step my foot on a steady rock when an unusual glint caught my eye. Amidst the cheers of my cousins, I heard the beautiful voice once again. "Come now and swim." I saw her smiling and in the water several meters away from my cousins. I seemed to imagine it, but I thought I saw the color of her eyes change. This time it was emerald green. Her pearly white teeth emphasized her full red lips. No one seemed to notice her but me. "Hey, you're taking so long!" My focus melted, and I was back again in reality, if the apparition of the lady was a dream, though. We swam a lot. The current was steady, and most of my teenage cousins climbed the short cliff to dive into the deeper waters of the river. For my other cousins and I were obviously too small and young to do those things. We satisfied ourselves by waiting near the banks while our parents chatted and watched over us. I was fascinated by the stones and marbles. I didn't notice that I was singing again when I saw a pretty one after another. That sooner the water level had reached my neck. The water was still clear and the river floor was visible, even without having to dive one's face in the water. I saw a pearl between two large rocks. I was amazed to see a pearl in that part of the river, so I started to reach for it. "What a beautiful pearl you are, oh my darling. Since when have you been so far?" I sang those words in my grandmother's own love song. I was about to touch the pearl when another hand immediately fell on mine. I was so frightened I screamed. I searched the hand's owner. It was the beautiful lady again. "You were frightened, weren't you?" I was startled. She seemed to be more beautiful than the last time. I saw her sitting on the boulder earlier. "Who are you?" I asked. "I live here," the lady replied. "Where do you live?" "Here." "Where are you from?" "You want to know?" This time she laughed. A stiff laugh indeed. Her eyes were smiling in a different way. She seemed to have something in mind as she looked at me and moved her face closer to mine. "Come with me." Her gaze softened, and I thought her eyes swirled into a deep hazelnut brown. I felt her hands hold mine. I dreamt as if the water started to whirl around us. I was starting to fall asleep. Come away with me, dear. Come with me, come. She seemed like singing me to sleep. My mind shut down and my weariness drowned me. I managed to open my eyes, and this is what I saw. Large, red, gleaming eyes had stared at me, fin-like ears that seemed to flap, an angler's mouth open wide, and an entire nightmare shining in a sharp green glow. A deafening shriek put the final blow to my awakening. I woke up, and as I opened my eyes, I became aware that I was about to drown. I tried to reach the surface. I swam. I tried to breathe. Luckily, my uncle caught my neck and swam with me to the shallow part of the river near the bank. You were nearly drowned by a whirlpool a while ago. I told you kids not to wander very far, haven't I? My parents were very anxious when my uncle carried me to the cottage. In my weariness, I drifted to sleep. Here's the story behind it 5 years later. My uncle went to the river after he was called by one of my cousins. My cousin told him that I was missing. My uncle became frantic and started to call my parents' attention. He swam the currents while my other uncle followed him while walking along the bank. They found a whirlpool. I was there and he saw someone with me, having a shiny back and long brown hair flowing above the whirlpool. My uncle quickly shouted for a torch, and my other uncle was allowed to take one from another's cottage who was roasting catfish. My uncle reached for it and then threw it in my direction, targeting my companion. He swam to me quickly, for the whirlpool started to grow, and sooner I was going to be drowned if not for him. That's when I learned that a mermaid tried to snatch me away. As a kid, I was defenseless to her charms, my grandmother had said. I asked her why, among my other cousins, would she choose to take me. She said I have a pretty song, indeed, at my age. I attracted a song mermaid because I was a girl, made me more enticing for her to take away. The creepy part is, no one really knows what happens after a mermaid captures a victim. That I was able to detail out my visions of that nightmare proves I am fortunate to be alive. To this day, mermaids are still believed to hypnotize innocent children and anyone who goes near the banks. I forgot to tell you the name of the river. It is, in your language, Unfortunate River, only known to its folks, for the river only appears when wailing is to be heard somewhere among the towns near it.
In the summer of 2003, I was on a boat in the ocean, and I saw before my very eyes this fish lady, with teeth sharper than the sharpest razor blade, blood dripping down her face. I thought I had imagined it, but I wiped my eyes and looked again. This time she was closer, coming towards us. And when I thought it was us, it was just me. Everybody else around me had fallen asleep. And suddenly she was on the deck of our boat, singing a song that was so beautiful. As I stared, she came closer and closer toward me, slithering, leaving a trail of blood behind her. And I noticed for a second that she had golden green eyes. And I say golden green because one was gold and one was green. She got closer and closer and closer, but then somebody slammed the deck open ran out. I blinked and she was gone. The blood was still there. And Margaret had asked me, "What's going on?" And I said, "You simply do not know." And that is my story of the mermaid who got away.
Oh, hi, Spooky. It's Renee calling once again. Yeah, I'm going to finish up the story. Apparently, I did finish the story about the 4 kids from wherever, but I related it on the secondary call that I made after because I figured, I'll just continue. But I guess I don't know. I don't know if it got recorded, but I don't know if you checked it. But anyway, it goes like this. And I should have checked the time again. I'll try to be as quick as I can. Okay, there's these 4 kids that are a little bit, shall we say, mentally deranged. And the point is they're all midgets. And they decide, and they're all like relatively close to each other in age. And I shouldn't call them kids. They're adults, but they look like kids on Halloween, right? And they put on makeup, but they're wearing like as if they're carpenters with like a drill and a saw and a hammer and whatever else you want to throw in there. And they go out on one Halloween evening, and they're, of course, the people open their doors to them. Oh, look at these cute kids. Oh, they look like carpenters. Well, they're actually cold-blooded murderers who are on a murdering spree, and they go into the houses and they shut the doors behind them, and they go murder who's ever inside the house, including all the pets and everything. And these guys are worse than the Manson family. But anyways, I shouldn't laugh, but what are you going to do? And perhaps their last names could be the Manson midgets. That's it. That's the title of the Night of the Manson Midget Murders. Yeah, okay, and people are just letting them into their houses, helter-skelter, shall we say, because it's Halloween, and they figure that they're kids, but they're actually adult midgets who are on a murderous rampage, and they planned it out, and there you go. Anyway, Spooky, I hope you find that entertaining, and keep up the ghoul work, shall we say, so to speak. Okay, love you, sweetheart. Take care. Bye-bye.
God, I'm sitting here talking away and my mic's off. I do that a lot, don't I? So, how'd you guys enjoy the stories? Were they fun? Thestra, I saw that message. Midget porn. Oh my god, that's so gross. Okay, so Renee has a lot of stories to tell. Renee, I think you should just write them and send them in. Write them and send them in, and I'll read them. Maybe. No. Oh, if you want to send in a story, you could send it to the form on the website at scarystorytime.com is probably the best way. I do get a lot of spam, so it takes me a long time to filter all of that out. And since I work full time, it's kind of difficult to... You know, that dog did not bark the whole time. And now here he goes. Hush. Yeah, you got dead air. You don't hear me talking now? You should hear me talking now. I gotta let the dog out. Hold on. What you talking about, Spooky? You should... Hey, the door's open. Go outside. Go outside. Go play. Go find some cat to play with. Anyway. Let's see. The last two stories were scary. Thanks for sharing them. Be quiet. Come here now. Come here. Okay, I'm going to put him outside. He's going to stay out there. Hold on. Why do you do this now? Go outside. Oh, Ashton won't let you. You're too chicken to walk by the cat. Come on, go. Go outside. The cat's not going to hurt you. Don't be a wuss. Okay, whatever. You can't go out there then. You know, you gotta grow a pair, Navi. You need to grow a pair. In fact, you're gonna come over here and sit down with me. Here's your leash. Here's your leash. Come here. Can you guys hear me now? So, only one of those stories was mine. That was the first one. The other stories were other people's. I only did one of them. The first one. But I didn't get to finish it. I only finished the first part. I planned on writing five parts this week, and I wrote that was 3,500 words. I wrote 3,500 words on Monday, or Sunday night. And then the rest of my week got filled up with stuff. So it's really a crapshoot if I get to write or not. Which sucks, because I love it. Thank you, Wolfpack. Thank you, Rick. JW, I thought instead of tipping over outhouse, they were gonna nail people inside them. Yeah, Navi is a wuss. The cats don't like him very much, especially Gigi, the big black cat. He is a big cat. He's a tuxedo. He's a big cat, and he's like, I don't know, 25 pounds, 30 pounds. He's huge, and he walks up to Navi. He's bigger than the dog, and he walks up to the dog. He's just like, bitch, get out of my way. It's kind of sad. They all pick on him, and he protects them like crazy. They're not so much them, but when their mom was a kitten and her sister, they were kittens, and my son's boss had him babysit their annoying dog, and the dog tried to chase the kittens, and Navi had a fit. He would not let that dog. That dog was like 3 times the size of Navi, and Navi would not let that dog near the kittens. He was so protective. It was so cute. But now I think he just hates them. Oh, the door's wide open. He can walk right out there. It's just the cat was sitting in front of the door. So he wouldn't walk by the cat because the cat was going to smack him. JW, I can picture Spooky in her bathrobe and slippers and curlers yelling at the dog. Oh, that's great. Oh, that video is coming up in my head right now with that old lady with the glasses and the curlers at her head going, shaking her finger. What video is that? Is that a David Lee Roth? Is that... Hot for Teacher or something. I can't think of what video that is. It's pretty funny. So yeah. So you like that background, huh? I love making backgrounds like that. It's a lot of fun. I tried to make the fish move, but I didn't have time to make the fish move. I was going to make the fish move around the aquarium, but like the fire's going, but I didn't have time. Maybe some other time I'll be able to do that. I was going to have a mermaid pop up every once in a while, but it is what it is. Yeah. So, anyway, the first story is going to have a twist to it. I guess I'll finish it, I don't know, maybe I'll have another mermaid night in a couple of weeks and play the rest of it then. So you just have to give me time. I think I got excited, overzealous over trying to think I was going to be able to sit down and write 3,500 words every morning, because I did that one morning and it's just impossible these days. I'm good at 500 to 1,000 words every day, and I need to just stick to that. So, it's like the home for sea monkeys. Kind of is, huh? Or a genie, or Captain Nemo of whatever that movie's called. I forgot what that movie's called. Or that book. What book was Captain Nemo in? Wasn't the Seven Wonders of the Sea or something like that? What was it? Anyway. I picture the chandelier a fishbowl, says Rhoda O'Connor. Yeah, that kind of does look like a fishbowl in a way. Although it's kind of... Not really, it's kind of white, it's not clear. If you notice, there's like one fish like hanging on the wall. I think somewhere there's one swimming around the room. You don't know where it is. I should make a Where's Waldo with these and put little Waldo in the corner, and everybody has to find Waldo or the ghost or something. Thustra heard a sushi-based parody of I Like It Raw last night. Okay. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Thank you, Thustra. Yeah, sometimes my mind goes blank. I don't know, for some reason I had Star Trek in my head on that. Does Star Trek have some kind of spin-off of that? Somehow? Oh no, Captain Nero. That's what I'm thinking of. Not Nemo. It's Captain Nero on Star Trek. Yeah. JW, Reader's Digest version is 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Oh. I haven't picked up a Reader's Digest in decades. My mom used to get it. I think. Or my dad or somebody. I think it was my mom. The Wolfpack Presents. I downloaded an AI program called AI Arta. I'm going to try it out. Oh, cool. I haven't heard of that one. Photoshop is doing AI now. I downloaded the beta, but I haven't played with it yet. Photoshop's just... It's like, oh, okay, we're going to take something that's like beyond ridiculous in the first place, and then we're just going to add AI to it and make all these different things that you have to do to make the AI work, and we're going to make it more ridiculous. They got rid of my favorite program, which was called Fireworks. It was kind of a combination between Photoshop and Illustrator, and it was perfect for web work, and they got rid of it. I was so mad when they did that, because it was so easy to do things. But I guess Photoshop, you could do the same things, it's just different. They're still made by Adobe, they should have made them the same. Rod says the fish is hiding on the mantle. Yeah, that one's obvious. The other one's not so obvious. It looks like there's a couple in like a net or something above the window. One of the windows. And then the one on the desk looks like it's kind of floating there. I don't know. I made a couple of different pictures, and one of them has a fish in the middle of the room, and I'm thinking, did you understand what I said? Thanks, Tam. I can't take the credit for it, though. All I did was think of the AI, and I think of what it looked like and told it, and it didn't come out with anything I said, really. Renee says, you should have one where Jack Nicholson is breaking through the door with a butter knife. You know what? I'll make that, and I'll show you what it comes up with, because that's going to be kind of funny. No, you stay here and be quiet. And Renee says, you are a woman of many talents, Spooky. Oh, thanks, Renee. I think I spread myself too thin, so I don't do anything as perfect as it should be, but... Kirby's 100, hello. How are you? JW, I heard Shatner is in the Creature Features movie tonight. I bet he rips his shirt. I like the movie tonight. It's fun. It's always fun when Shatner's on something. When Shatner's on something. He's like that in every movie. But I adore him. So, what do the fish look like? Fish? I don't know. The one above the fireplace is like green and gold. And I don't know fish types. I don't know what they are. The ones in the fish tank are blue with light blue with a stripe, kind of remind me of neon fish, which have the glowing stripe in them. Fuzzy says a fish on the mantle is gonna start singing soon. Oh, those dumb fish they used to sell in the 80s or 90s or something. Rod says, hey, no barking. Rod says, I blew my hand off with some fireworks. Can AI make a hand for me? Hey, you never know. What is that? What is that plastic stuff called? God. I bet you could design a hand with... Are you kidding? Are you serious? Really? You could design one with, I don't know what it's called. What is it called when you make stuff out of designs? You could buy a machine and bring it home and it'll build a 3D thing for you. I forgot what those are called. They're really cool. People are making like dentures out of them, and they're making toys and all sorts of stuff out of it. 3D printing. Yes. 3D printer. I have no idea how those work, but they're so cool. I was looking at it thinking, gosh, if I could actually paint, which I can't, I could make like little figurines and sell them. I thought about making things out of, what do you call it? Epoxy? No way, man. That stuff, you breathe that in and you like die. Resin. Resin's made out of epoxy and something else, I think. So, resin. Everybody uses things with resin, but you got to put this big mask over your face and these gloves and everything. It's like, it takes all the fun out of it. But it'd be so much fun to make clear things and flowers, put flowers in resin. Are you choking on your leash there? See what happens when you try and go too far and you can't go? You choke. I'm not touching you. You're doing that yourself. Don't do it. It won't happen. Duh. Anyway, just sit down. Lay down. He's so hyper. Tam, oh, I get it. I actually bought my dad the singing fish. He hung it on the wall. I want to get the fish that flops around. I don't know what they do to those. I don't think there's a battery in it, because you just give it to your cats and it fish jumps on the ground. I think it's just made out of the... Hey! I think it's just made out of the, like the slap bracelets. The crinkly slap bracelet stuff. I think that's what those fish are made of. But they're really cool. My cats would go nuts. Oh, gosh. Navi's daddy's coming home in 2 weeks. I'm so excited because you know what? My office is moving. I'm not excited about that. But Navi's going to have his daddy home. And I'm going to make his daddy watch him from 6 o'clock to 8:30 on Saturday nights. Oh, yeah, your daddy's going to watch you 6 o'clock to 8:30. You want to go outside? Here you go. I'll let you outside. Now you have to go past the cat. You have to grow a pair and run past the cat. Go, go, go! There we go. He's just going to bark when he gets outside. All right. Need something cosmetic. For what? Oh. A glove? Wow, you sound Canadian when you talk about choking, eh? Sorry, Canadians friends out there. I'm kidding. Did they say about, because people from the Midwest, upper Midwest do that. About. I went to the upper Midwest and they made fun of my California accent. And I was like, wait a minute here. I don't have an accent. Totally don't have an accent. He's like, yeah, you do. You said totally. I'm like, no, I don't have an accent. Don't do that. He's like, don't do that. Well, shut up. He's like, shut up. So, hello, John Mark's channel. How you doing? Anyway. Oh, man. So, I did an A joke to a friend of mine one time. He didn't get it. Or he never said anything about it. I don't know. Maybe he did get it. Don't you know, you betcha. Is that just in the States, or do they say that in Canada too? That's an upper Midwest thing. Oh yeah, don't you know, you betcha. Let's see. Yeah, no more Navi. Get him out. He's too much. I'm doing fine, John Marks. Doing just fine. Thestra, maybe you could tell us a story about choking on something Canadian, eh? Like maple syrup or blended whiskey. Well, I can't eat maple syrup because of the sugar and carbs in it. But I don't know how many times I've had whiskey and choked it down. I don't know what blended whiskey is, but hey, it's whiskey. But the whiskey I've always had is Irish, so I don't know. Navi's probably just jealous of us chatting with you. Yes, he is. Every single time I get on the stream, I can talk on the phone, I can do anything, and he doesn't. He's pretty cool, but when I get on the stream, he just flips out. He wants to be part of it or something. So, Fuzzy, sounds like the accent of the old man Pet Cemetery. Well, that guy's from Maine. You mean the old Pet Cemetery, right? 'Cause the old movies, he used to have people sound like they're from Maine, but the new movies, they never sound like it. Because Stephen King does all of his stuff from Maine. And they do have somewhat of that accent, but it's a little bit different. But yes, it sounds a lot like him. Maine's in its own little planet. They have their own little thing. But I think most of the upper Midwest sounds a lot like Canada. I could be wrong. I've never been to Canada. That's just like Wisconsin and Michigan and Minnesota. All talk like that. Kirby says, I'll send you an email tomorrow. I hope you can see it. It's probably in there. Does it say Kirby's 100 who it's from? I gotta clean out my email again. I do. So do people sound like that from Minnesota? John Marks, do they sound like they're from Minnesota? You don't drink Minnesota from Minnesota, you drink pop. Pop. They're from Fargo. Isn't Fargo Dakotas? Let's see, where is Janet? I haven't seen her tonight. Let's see. Crown Royal, and VO are blended whiskeys. Okay. I don't know. I just drink. I don't know what they are. It's like, okay, I'll have a rum and coke. I'll have a whiskey. I don't have whiskey. I just drink whiskey out of shots. Tam says, a horror story about a maple tree is getting revenge by drowning its victim in maple syrup. Now that sounds like something Stephen King would write. Yeah, I like that kind of thing. It reminds me of the one when he's at the end of one of his story collections, anthologies, whatever you call them when they're in movies, with the guy at the end and he's all covered in grass. Yeah, I haven't seen Nodis in a long time. I haven't seen him on Twitter or YouTube. I don't know where he's been. What you talking about, Spooky? Now, that's not Midwestern. That's Bronx. That's the Bronx, Thestra. Oh, it's Pop. Oh, you're in Michigan, Rod? I'm sorry. I'm sitting there talking about your accent. Or maybe other people's accents. Maybe you don't talk like that. Yeah, it's Pop. Around here, it's soda. My sister moved to the Midwest, so she talks about these things. She says, it's not soda here, it's pop. And they don't have real chow mein. They have this stuff over rice. Because here chow mein is noodles, because mein means noodle. Everybody, in Chinese, mein is noodle. So chow mein is like chow, and it's like all the different food that you mix in with the noodles. I have a big thing about that. Because I went to visit and I ordered chow mein. I'm like, what is this? They're like, that's chow mein. I'm like, no, that's not. This is not Chungking. I want noodles with pan-fried noodles, not crispy. Anyway. I'm really picky about that, but I don't even eat it anymore, so it's not a big deal. Renee once pretended he was from Australia to this woman in the bar he had just met. Had to fake it until the next day. Oh, that's... So what'd you do when you talked in your sleep? Oh my gosh. Did you talk in your sleep and tell her where you're really from? Tam likes vodka and orange juice or vodka and strawberry juice. Vodka and orange juice is a screwdriver. And vodka and grapefruit juice is a greyhound. I like those too. You start drinking the greyhounds after you have. Like I had one night a few months ago. I had a lot of rum and cokes, and then once I had enough of that and I was feeling really tipsy, I started having greyhounds, because the greyhounds kind of sober you up a little bit. At least they do me. So, I don't know. Anyway. Oh, what time is it? It's only 7:30. Yeah, I didn't have a large collection of stories tonight. Mermaid stories are really hard to come by, and they are the most popular stories on the channel. So people come to listen to the stories, and I noticed there's 19 people here. Anybody here for the mermaid stories? They started earlier in the show, so if you're listening for those, you're gonna like rewind if it lets you. I don't know if it does, but yeah. I was trying to watch a mermaid horror movie before this, but I kept getting interrupted. I can never do anything in one sitting. Ever. So, I wanted to talk about mermaid movies too, and I couldn't, and not sappy ones like The Little Mermaid or anything like that. But hey, did The Little Mermaid, was that originally a Grimm story? Navi, be quiet. Sorry. Was that originally a Grimm fairy tale? Did she like? I want to look. Little Mermaid Grimm. Because if that is, I should have read that. Which, oh, Hans Christian Andersen wrote it. Yeah. Oh, the Brothers Grimm does have a version. Let's see. Is it gory? Has anybody read this? Has anybody read Grimm's mermaid story? The Brothers Grimm. Is it gory? Lester, I was drinking White Russians before The Big Lebowski. That movie effed up my drinking life. I've never seen that. Yes, there's lots of mermaid horror movies. In fact, there's an older one on this channel that's like from a long time ago. Who is it that's on it? I can't remember his name. But I keep wanting to say Dustin Hoffman. It's not Dustin Hoffman. It's a guy who's a comedian. God, I can't think of who it is. But he's on it. There's a Polish movie about mermaid sisters. That's a horror movie. Yeah, there's another one that I was watching. And I don't know what it's called. Renee, I once dated a mermaid, never again. Instead of dandruff, she left scales behind. Ew. The original is horrible. Okay, so the original what? Is that the name of a movie, or the original Brothers Grimm story, or the original what? Because there's a Hans Christian Andersen one, and there's a Brothers Grimm. I can't imagine Hans Christian Andersen being worse than the Brothers Grimm. The Brothers Grimm mermaid isn't whitewashed like Disney. I don't see the comment spot. Yeah, they don't have the comment spot until after the live stream's over for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know if I turn that on. I don't think on live streams, at least not my live streams. I don't know. She lost the prince and had to live as a mute human. Oh, well, I have it right here, but let's see. The Little Mermaid, the Brothers Grimm. Okay, all you little children out there who are listening, who are not supposed to be. This is the original Little Mermaid. Let's see. Sirenetta. I'm just going to call her Ariel. Let's see if I can read this. They're usually not dirty, are they? No. Okay, you know what? Navi, I'm going to start reading again. You got to be quiet. This dog, he's insane. The Brothers Grimm. Once upon a... I'm going to get the dog. I cannot read. I cannot focus while the dog's barking. Doggy! I'm either shutting the door and you're staying out there. Are you going to stop barking? You're going to stay out here? You're going to come in. You're going to come in. Come inside. Come on. Oh, you okay? Come on, dork. You tripped? Did you trip? Did you trip on the stairs, you dork? You're such a dork. Come here, Navi. Come here, puppy. Come here. Come here. Oh, that's a good boy. Yeah, I'm going to put you on a leash now. Go lay down in your bed. No barking. He tripped up the stairs and I called him into the house. He's okay. Okay, I got to catch my breath now. I'm laughing too hard. Ariel turns to foam. Well, this Brothers Grimm story doesn't look too gruesome. I'm going to read it. It better be bloody. Did he make her into canned tuna? Would that be cannibalism, or would that be, what are they, it's not pescatarian. What is it called when you only eat fish? Is that a pescatarian, or is that a religion? I don't know. But something like that. Would a person who eats a mermaid, would that be a cannibal? Or would that be a person who only eats a fish? He cans her and turns her into canned tuna. Hey, Janet, we're just killing mermaids here. All right, Fuzzy, have a good night. Little does Spooky know Gertrude is outside teasing her dog. Oh, probably. Well, the dog's now sitting next to me, so Gertrude probably went home by now. All right. You know what gave me a headache? Who said that? CWL. You know what gave me a headache was the new... I didn't even watch it. I just watched trailers for it. Was the new movie with the three witches. God, why can't I remember titles? I don't know. Anyway, they were so loud, obnoxious, and just screaming, and the girls in that screaming and laughing and giggling and screaming that I couldn't even watch it. Anyway. Rod says depends if you eat her top or bottom. Okay, the Brothers Grimm, and I'm going to turn this into a regular story too, I think. Once upon a time, in a splendid palace on the bed of the bluest ocean lived the Sea King, a wise old Triton with a long flowing white beard. He lived in a magnificent palace built of gaily colored coral and seashells, together with his 5 daughters, very beautiful mermaids. Sirenetta, the youngest and loveliest of them all, also had a beautiful voice, and when she sang, the fishes flocked from all over the sea to listen to her. The shells gaped wide, showing their pearls, and even the jellyfish stopped to listen. The young mermaid often sang, and each time she would gaze upwards, seeking the faint sunlight that scarcely managed to filter down into the depths. Oh, how I'd love to go up there and at last see the sky, which everyone says is so pretty, and hear the voices of the humans, and smell the scent of the flowers. You're still too young, said her mother. In a year or two, when you're 15, only then will the king let you go up there, like your sisters. Sirenetta spent her time wishing for the world of humans. She listened to her sisters' stories, and every time they returned from the surface, she would ask them questions to satisfy her curiosity. And as she waited for the day when she too would be allowed to reach the surface of the sea and meet the unknown world, Sirenetta spent her time in her wonderful sea garden. The seahorses kept her company, and sometimes a dolphin would come and play. Only the unfriendly starfish never replied when she called. At last, her long-desired birthday came. The night before, Sirenetta could not sleep a wink. In the morning her father called to her, and, stroking her long golden hair, slipped a lovely carved flower into her locks. "There, now you can go to the surface. You'll breathe air and see the sky. But remember, it's not our world. We can only watch and admire. We're children of the sea and have no soul, as men do. Be careful and keep away from them. They can only bring back bad luck." In a second, Sirenetta had kissed her father and was darting smoothly towards the surface of the sea. She swam so fast with flicks of her slender tail that even the fish could not keep up with her. Suddenly she popped out of the water. How wonderful! For the first time she saw the great blue sky, in which, as dusk began to fall, the first stars were peeping out and twinkling. The sun, already over the horizon, trailed a golden reflection that gently faded on the heaving waves. High overhead, a flock of gulls spotted the little mermaid and greeted her arrival with shrieks of pleasure. "It's so lovely!" she exclaimed happily. But another nice surprise was in store for her. A ship was slowly sailing towards the rock on which Sirenetta was sitting. The sailors dropped anchor, and the ship swayed gently in the calm sea. Sirenetta watched the men go about their work aboard, lighting the lanterns for the night. She could clearly hear their voices. "I'd love to speak to them," she said to herself, but then she gazed sadly at her long, flexible tail, her equivalent of legs, and said to herself, "I can never be like them." Aboard a ship, a strange excitement seemed to seize the crew, and a little later the sky became a spray of many-colored lights, and the crackle of fireworks filled the sky. "Long live the captain! Hooray for his 20th birthday! Hooray! Hooray! Happy many returns!" Astonished at all this, the little mermaid caught sight of the young man in whose honor the display was being held. Tall and dignified, he was smiling happily, and Sirenetta could not take her eyes from him. She followed his every movement, fascinated by all that was happening. The party went on, but the sea grew more agitated. Sirenetta anxiously realized that the men were now in danger. An icy wind was sweeping the waves. The ink-black sky was torn by flashes of lightning. Then a terrible storm broke suddenly over the helpless ship. In vain Sirenetta screamed, "Look out! Beware of the sea!" But the howling wind carried her words away, and the rising waves swept over the ship. Amidst the sailors' shouts, masts and sails toppled onto the deck, and with a sinister splintering sound the ship sank. By the light of one of the lamps, Sirenetta had seen the young captain fall into the water, and she swam to his rescue. But she could not find him in the high waves, and, tired out, was about to give up, when suddenly there he was on the crest of a nearby wave. In an instant he was swept straight into the mermaid's arms. The young man was unconscious, and the mermaid held his head above the water in the stormy sea in an effort to save his life. She clung to him for hours, trying to fight the tiredness that was overtaking her. Then, as suddenly as it had sprung up, the storm wind had died away, and a gray dawn over the still angry sea. Sirenetta realized thankfully that the land lay ahead. Aided by the motion of the waves, she pushed the captain's body onto the shore. Beyond the rippling water, trying to warm the young captain with her own body, then the sound of approaching voices startled Sirenetta, and she slipped back into deeper water. "Come quickly, quickly!" came a woman's voice in alarm. "There's a man here. Look, I think he's unconscious." The captain was now in good hands. "Let's take him to the castle." "No, no, better get help." And the first thing the young man saw when he opened his eyes again was the beautiful face of the youngest group of the three ladies. Thank you for saving my life," he murmured to the lovely unknown lady. From the sea, Sirenetta watched the man she had snatched from the waves turn towards the castle, without knowing that a mermaid had saved his life. Slowly swimming out to sea, Sirenetta felt that there on the beach she had left something behind. She could never bring herself to forget how wonderful those tremendous hours in the storm had been, as she had battled with the elements. And as she swam down towards her father's palace, her sisters came to meet her, anxious to know what had kept her so long on the surface. Sirenetta started to tell her story, but suddenly a lump came to her throat, and bursting into tears, she fled into her room. She stayed there for days, refusing to see anyone or to touch food. She knew that her love for the young captain was without hope, for she was a mermaid and could never marry a human. Only the witch of the deeps could help her. But what price would she have to pay? Sirenetta decided to ask the witch. "And so you want to get rid of your fishy tail, do you? I expect you'd have to have a pair like of woman's legs. Isn't that so?" What the hell was that? Sound like a train outside. Did you guys hear that? Said the nasty witch scornfully from her cave guarded by a giant squid. "Be warned," she went on. "You will suffer horribly, as though a sword were cutting you apart. And every time you place your feet on the earth, you will feel a dreadful pain." "It doesn't matter," whispered Sirenetta with tears in her eyes. "As long as I can go back to him." "And that's not all," exclaimed the witch. "In exchange for my spell, you must give me your lovely voice. You'll never be able to utter a word again. And don't forget, if the man you love marries someone else, you will not be able to turn into a mermaid again. You will just dissolve in water like the foam of the wave." "All right," said Sirenetta, eagerly taking the little jar holding the magic potion. The witch had told Sirenetta that the young captain was actually a prince, and the mermaid left the water at a spot not too far from the castle. She pulled herself onto the beach, then drank the magic potion. An agonizing pain made her faint, and when she came to her senses, she could mistily see the face she loved smiling down at her. The witch's magic had worked the spell, for the prince had felt a strange desire to go down to the beach just as Sirenetta was arriving. There he had stumbled on her, and recalling how he too had once been washed up on the shore, gently laid his cloak over the still body cast up by the waves. "Don't be frightened," he said quickly. "You're quite safe. Where have you come from?" But Sirenetta was now dumb, and could not reply, so the young man softly stroked her wet cheek. "I'll take you to the castle and look after you," he said. In the days that followed, the mermaid started a new life. She wore splendid dresses and often went on a horseback with the prince. One evening she was invited to a great ball at court. However, as the witch had foretold, every movement and each step she took was torture. Sirenetta bravely put up with her suffering, glad to be allowed to stay near her beloved prince. And though she could not speak to him, he was fond of her and showered kindness on her, to her great joy. However, the young man's heart really belonged to the unknown lady he had seen as he lay on the shore, though he had never met her since, for she had returned at once to her own land. Even when he was in the company of Sirenetta, fond of her as he was, the unknown lady was always in his thoughts. And the little mermaid, guessing instinctively that she was not his true love, suffered even more. She often crept out of the castle at night to weep by the seashore. Once she thought she could spy her sisters rise. What? Once she thought she could spy her sisters rise from the water and wave at her, but this made her feel sadder than ever. Fate, however, had another surprise in store. From the castle ramparts one day, a huge ship was sighted sailing into the harbor. Together with Sirenetta, the prince went down to meet it, and who stepped from the vessel but the unknown lady, who had been for long in the prince's heart. When he saw her, he rushed to greet her. Sirenetta felt herself turn to stone, and a painful feeling pierced her heart. She was about to lose her prince forever. The unknown lady, too, had never forgotten the young man she had found on the beach, and soon after he asked her to marry him. Since she was too in love, she happily said yes. A few days after the wedding, the happy couple were invited for a voyage on the huge ship, which was still in the harbor. Sirenetta, too, went on board, and the ship set sail. Night fell, and sick at heart over the loss of the prince, Sirenetta went on deck. She remembered the witch's prophecy and was now ready to give up her life and dissolve in the sea. Suddenly she heard a cry from the water and dimly saw her sisters in the darkness. "Sirenetta, Sirenetta, it's us, your sisters. We've heard all about what happened. Look, do you see this knife? It's magic. The witch gave it to us in exchange for our hair. Take it, kill the prince before dawn, and you will become a mermaid again and forget all of your troubles." As though in a trance, Sirenetta clasped the knife and entered the cabin where the prince and his bride lay asleep. But as she gazed at the young man's sleeping face, she simply blew him a furtive kiss before running back on deck. When dawn broke, she threw the knife into the sea. Then she shot a parting glance at the world. She was leaving behind, and dived into the waves, ready to turn into the foam of the sea, whence she had come, and vanish. As the sun rose over the horizon, it cast a long golden ray of light across the sea, and in the chilly water, Sirenetta turned towards it for the last time. Suddenly, as though by magic, a mysterious force drew her out of the water, and she felt herself lifted high into the sky. The clouds were tinged with pink, and sea rippled in the early morning breeze, and the little mermaid heard a whisper through the tinkling of bells, "Sirenetta, Sirenetta, come with us." "Who are you?" asked the mermaid, surprised to find she had recovered the use of her voice. "Where am I?" "You're with us in the sky. We're the fairies of the air. We have no soul as men do, but our task is to help them. We take amongst us only those who have shown kindness to men." Greatly touched, Sirenetta looked down over the sea towards the prince's ship, and felt tears spring to her eyes. The fairies of the air whispered to her, "Look, the earth flowers are waiting for our tears to turn into the morning dew. Come along with us." Oh, that was Barfy. I wanted her to, stab the prince or the new princess. That's what I was expecting. All right. Anyway, I was hoping that was darker than it was. That wasn't very dark. I was hoping she would have thrown herself into the water and turned into sea foam or something. Oh. Spelling close enough for government work. What? Let's see. Where was I? I wanted to travel aboard, but I was already there. Are mer people attracted to royal blood? Where am I? Aren't mer people royal blood in the beginning? They're all related to... what's his face? Triton. They're all related. All the stories I've ever read, they're all related, so I don't know. It's creepy. Yeah, Hocus Pocus, Alicia. That's what I was trying to think of. Sirenetta. Oh, Wolfpack Presents. The Hans Christian Andersen version sounded better. Should have read that one. Navi started choking and Spookyboo talked to him in a Canadiovision voice. What is a Canadiovision voice? Oh my god. I typically start reading the stories at 15 minutes after 6 o'clock. Damn it. So that everybody can get into the room. So at 6:15, Let's see. What did I miss in here? Lost Children of the Sea. Ronnie James Dio. Yay, Dio. I like Dio. I like that song Rainbow of the Night. Or whatever. Of the Dark. Just reading through here in the comments. Oh. Yeah. My son had a crush on Ariel. That was kind of funny. German POWs contemptuously called the white bread cake and thought they were being buttered up in expectations of a German victory. What? So the Brothers Grimm told the exact same story and simply gave the mermaid a name. This is so wrong. I don't know. I don't know which ones came first. I knew it was an old tale, but I don't know where it came from or which one told it first or whatever. Spelling close enough for government work, eh? Spelling of what? What are you talking about, Thustra? You hear that car? That's what I go through when I have to record. Noisy cars. Poor sister sacrificing their hair for nothing. So, yeah, I was kind of hoping she would throw herself into the sea foam and they would describe that. That she jumped off the deck and as her body hit the water, she could feel the tingling as her legs disappeared in front of her. Blood seeped through the wounds of her ankles and soon her calves and the knees. And up rose a red sea foam from her pale flesh and blood. I'm going to write horror stories. I'm going to rewrite all these fairy tales into horror stories. I'm sure somebody's already done that. That had to have been done already. And finally, when it came to her lips, she let out one last song. Save me, dear prince. It's the foam in the sea scurried up her cheeks until her ears could no longer hear, and all that was left was her brain, and a shark gobbled that up. And before her brain could turn into foam, a great white swam by and gulped up her brain. Gulped up the remnants of her cauliflower head. JW, how about a mermaid that lives in the city sewers and is a vampire? Ew. Ew. How does she ever get the stench off of her? Everybody knows she's coming. Oh, listen to that. I think I misspelled plagiarist, but I've heard I don't know what I'm talking about. That sounded like Bon Jovi. I like your morbid twists. I'll break every little kid's heart out there in the world today. Little Ariel has gone to sea. Foam. And got eaten by a great white. Got eaten by Jaws. Yep. City mermaids taste like crap. Well, where else are they going to hang out? Maybe they turn into little specks of pollywog eggs or something when you turn on your sink. They go through the clean water system. They get recycled into clean water, but they don't turn into water because they're magic, and then they come out through the nozzle of the faucet. Yeah. Renee, I once went on a date to a bar with a mermaid after she ordered a plate of fish heads I left. Ew. That would be a funny part of a gross movie, you know? I mean, what do mermaids eat? They eat seaweed or plankton or what? Fish? Just raw fish? Oh, sushi. I don't even like sushi. I went to Japan once and I was sitting there at the table and they put this, it wasn't sushi, they put these, I want to say crawdads. What is the crustacean? It's like a crawdad and it's like a lobster, but it's not either one of those. They're not shrimp. They're long guys. I don't know. Anyway, they put them in front of us, and they had them seared, or they had them skewered, and they put them on the grill, and suddenly they start moving. I'm like, these are alive, and you're cooking them raw in front of me. That's not cool. I was grossing out. I had to leave the table. I know that sounds wimpy to some people, but no, that's like torture. You gotta kill something before you do something like that. You can't just throw it on a hot burner and cook it. Well, it's alive. That's gross. That's why I only eat here in the United States. Oh, a prawn. Thank you. Aren't prawns shrimp? Just big shrimp? I knew that because I eat prawns all the time. Or I used to when I had money. Full strawberry moon here now. Got a bark for Ozzy. Do it. Go outside. Record it. I want to see it and hear it. Oh, God, no, not eels. Oh, my God. I could never eat an eel. My brother loved eels on sushi, and it was just like, that's nasty. It was always so slimy. Eels and fish eggs. Eels in roe, they'd wrap around over rice. Oh, God. No. That's as bad as going to India and eating monkey brains. God, no. Yeah, Tam, poor creatures. I agree. You know, I'm no vegetarian, but I'm like, you know, if you're going to eat something, you need to treat it with respect and do it right. None of this stick something in its neck and let it bleed to death while it sits there and suffers. No. You gotta do it the right way. Kirby's. I prefer vampire women to mermaids, but real female vampires smell bad. They smell bad. They smell like death. Yeah, because they're dead. Or they're undead. Thus, internet prawn is out of control. Row your boat. Oh, you were just a linguist tonight, aren't you, Thustra? I'm not. My brain goes 100 miles a minute. I just like the words just like till. That's why writing is just like I have so much in my head and I'm so stressed all the time. A lot of it is this dog. That writing's just lately. I used to write all the time. And I had kids around too, and it's like the kids are like out of school. I don't know, except for my youngest is coming home, but you know, now I have less time for some reason. I think it's Facebook and Twitter. I think those mess with my head a little bit. I'm gonna have to like back off and not use them anymore. It's so much fun putting bad memes up though. I love putting really stupid, dark memes up that people hate and are offensive. I don't know. Thustra is quite cunning. Oh my God. I am not going to put those words together, Thustra. Sorry. Rod O'Connor won't touch them chitlins. Ew, not chitlins. Aren't those like pig guts? God, no. Oh my God, that's like fried menudo soup. Although I think that is beef tripe, I don't know. Ugh. No stomach linings, thank you very much. Janet, I like shrimp flavored chips. It's sold next to the potato chips. I've never seen those here, but I know they have them in Japan and in Japanese restaurants. And they're really good. I had those in Japan. Really, really good. Those are like the sister airline of Air. Oh man, the heart's in the way. Oh. That little heart. Do you guys have that heart on your chat room? It gets in the way of moderating and reading stuff. It's always sitting there and I can't see half the sentence. I have to like wait until people start putting other stuff. I'm surprised YouTube hasn't moved it yet. I can't move it. Can you guys move it? All I can do is click on stuff. I can't move the darn thing anywhere else. Anyway. So it makes it really hard to moderate stuff when it's in the way. Because I can't click on the 3 dots. I'm not repeating that, Thostra. Loco, 5 bottles of wine caught up to me and kicked my teeth in. What'd I miss? I just read The Little Mermaid from Grimm. I thought it was going to be more grim than it was, but it wasn't. Thostra has no heart. Oh, really? You guys can't see the heart? I wonder if it's just on the computers and not on the phones. I don't know. Thostra says the Irish National Airline has a clever name. Irish National Airline. Is that the name of it? INA. Oh, there's somebody outside. Naughty, that's not here, okay? That's not here. That's next door. He thinks... he thinks he's such a bold, ferocious, scary dog. You're not. You're annoying. Nobody's scared of you. Nobody's scared of you. You ferocious animal. I'm sorry. I better go. It's like 8:08. And I gotta go eat dinner and everything. So thanks you guys for hanging out. And I'm sorry about this loud, obnoxious animal. You know he does this every time. I'm very sorry. He's annoying. But he won't be doing that in a couple of weeks because he'll be with his daddy. And I'll be so happy. I tried to give him away, but they gave him back. Oh my God. I am not saying any of that. Thostra. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, you guys. I'll talk to you next week or in an hour at Creature Features. So I gotta go have dinner and all stuff. So I'll talk to you then. Thanks for hanging out. Next week, call in the middle of the week, 707-776-6592, and tell me your scary story. I don't care what it's about. If you've seen something really spooky or you just want to leave a message or whatever, I'll play it. And you can please leave a comment at the end when it's all closed up and done. And that's it. Night, everybody.